Essentially, if you don't know about something, how are you to disclose it? Now, although this was a success for the seller defendant in this instance, I would say that the fact that they even ended up in court suggests a failure of strategic planning during the course of the transaction pre closing. If I were to recommend one thing for someone in a similar situation, it would be to be a little bit more open about what happened in the past. Anytime you're able to disclose something that happened, but that was repaired and you haven't had any issues with subsequently, it's usually a win for you as a seller. You leave a lot less space for a buyer to come back afterward and say, well, you didn't tell me about that. Instead, you're free to say, look, we told you everything we knew. Sometimes things pop up soon after closing, and that's often where these kinds of things get really messy. When something happens, whether or not the seller could, should, might have been able to disclose it, if it happens right after closing, often the buyer wants someone to blame and the seller is that person. Interestingly enough, at the end of the case, the trial judge did award the McElroys over $27,000 in attorney's fees based on the fee shifting provision in the real estate contract. So, as a seller, if you do get sued frivolously in such a situation, you do have a remedy. Although that is kind of a plan B in terms of how to deal with a situation where a buyer wants to file a lawsuit against you, at least there is something that you can do if that happens. Now, as a buyer, be careful. The thing that I often say to buyers that come back to me and they say, well, your seller didn't disclose something is, well, it's the old caveat emptor, buyer beware. To wrap things up, if you have an example of something like this to happen to you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. If you've got questions about these kinds of things, DM me, ask me in the comments, get a conversation going. It's another instance of a situation where a good strategy is going to help avoid a bad situation later on. And my firm is just the kind of firm that loves a good strategy.